been a little while since we've done a video. If you notice the video quality has improved, you can thank my brother. My big brother decided he wanted to help film the car, so make sure to leave nice comments down below. So I guess we'll move right into progress today. So last episode, this was just a bare engine, so you can probably already see a lot of stuff that we got done. So we cleaned and painted the exhaust manifolds in ceramic high temperature paint, assembled all the exhaust system, put the turbo on, all the air duct is final installed. My dad made this fancy coil bracket and mounted it to the core sport. All the cooling system is done, radiator, everything's plumbed. The only exemption to that is we need a coolant temperature sensor, which I just haven't installed yet. Intercooler, all the charge piping, that's all routed, done. Something cool that we did, so LS1 intake, we bought it for, I think it was 20 or 30 bucks, but it didn't come with fuel rails, like they always do. So we took a set of truck fuel rails, and they have a aluminum insert into the ends. And the cool thing about aluminum is you can machine it and you can weld on it. So we took some -6 fittings and we basically took this clamp here and just gently pried it up, pulled it off, and then pulled the little aluminum plug in. And then we bored a hole in it, welded a fitting onto it, and then put it all back together. And then I just took a hammer and gently hammered this back down so that it's clamped back down. I took a leak down tester, one of these guys, put an AN fitting on the end, and then you can see the amount it's leaking. And I took it up to 100 PSI, no leaks on both of them. And then that's basically it. The reason we did that was, one, we didn't have fuel rails, but also the truck fuel rails, they basically have this very small inlet to the crossover pipe, and then it has to go through these little tiny fittings here, and that's very restrictive. So we're doing a flow-through design. Well, actually it comes through here, and then back to the regulator. So you can see all the fittings are different colors. It's because we bought them cheap at a flea market. So all the fuel system is plumbed. The only thing we lack for that is a fuel filter, the lovely PACCwards fuel pressure regulator, $33 special. Also put our wastegate blowdown tube, and there's coils in the back too. So that's basically it for our engine bay update. I guess, oh, well, one more thing. Flex plate shield and transmission shield, that's kind of required by the NHRA. So we installed those as well. So, okay, another thing we got done was we used the factory throttle cable, and we the holes basically lined up to the LS1 intake. We just had to machine little spacers so to put it in the right spot using the factory pedal on the inside. And you can see the wastegate blowdown tube better from here. Other thing is, since we're only running the front brakes with the brake pedal, we made this aluminum adapter that goes from the master cylinder bolt pattern on the Talon to just basically a Tilton single circuit reservoir, or single circuit master cylinder. So that's what that's all about. You can see all the transmission lines and everything are plumbed. All the basic wiring has been run. I had to lengthen every single wire in the harness I had used on another car because it wasn't long enough to put where I wanted it to be. And that's basically it for the engine bay update. Alright, next up in the cabin, we did a bunch of work. So right off the bat, you'll notice that the steering column is final mounted, and it still features the factory tilt. So if you got a need to give yourself a little more room. A little bit of luxury in our race car. And then we made a custom adapter to put a quick release, a removable steering wheel on, just so for entry and egress is a little easier. You'll notice the 100% factory brake pedal and the 100% factory throttle pedal. We only had to add this little spacer here just so it doesn't, you're not putting tension onto the throttle body and possibly breaking it. It bottoms out here. At the same time it bottomed out there. Next up, the $30 special e-brake from eBay. If you ever want to go drifting, brah, you can take your front-wheel drive race car drifting if you so desire. Then we took a B&M shifter and we measured out all the throws between the shifts, and we modified the shifter linkage on the transmission so that it matches up perfectly. And you can see it's a nice ratchet shifter. It was sitting in a junk pile, completely rusted, seized, otherwise useless, and we took it apart, put a bunch of grease on it, made it work, and now we have a working shifter. We plan to run completely manual valve body, quote unquote. You can do that with wiring. So next up is I made an electrical panel. Pro tip for people that are doing electrical panels: if you make a panel like this that's removable, you can wire everything on the panel before you put it in the car, and then you don't have to squeeze yourself in here to wire all that junk. So I did the majority of the wiring on this panel outside of the car, which is way more convenient. So we have our fuse panel here, feeds all our relays, and then we have a switch panel up here, which that camera can't see it, but this one can. So we have a switch panel, just an arcade button for our start switch. We got ignition, water pump, fan, lights, fuel pump 1, fuel pump 2, and these are all basically all ground switches with the exception of these two. Those are positive switches. And then our battery will be mounted right here. And you can see our PCM's already mounted here. These are the wires I was talking about earlier that I had to lengthen just because I wanted to put the PCM here. There's still a bunch of stuff I got to wire up. I'm probably about halfway through all that, but the hardest part is done, and got our nice terminal strip here so that we can connect things nicely, and that's basically it. We got to put a dash in here yet. We're going to put a little OBD2 gauge cluster here, and that should be about it. Obviously we got to get this plumbed too, but so we're making really good progress. I'm pretty excited to get this thing done. Another update is we put our fuel cell back here. NHRA requires that the fuel cell be isolated from the rest of the cabin. So in order to fill it, we made this little removable lid, just with little homemade wing nuts. Yeah, we were looking to get the fuel cell in the front of the car, but it just wasn't going to work out. We didn't have enough room, so we decided to put it back here. But you can see my dad made this nice little cover. It is removable. And there is our fuel cell. You can see the majority of the plumbing is done. This is our feed here. And actually, if you take this out and look down in there, you can see we have two Walbro 450 fuel pumps. They're both plumbed. There's feed for the one, there's feed for the other. Plumbed into a fitting. We made a custom Y fitting that comes out through here. And this is our feed, -10 feed. And that's basically it. This is where all the wiring comes through, just using our PermaShield, Permatex, that's fuel resistant and all that. So that's basically all done. We have the return here, which comes in and goes down, and just so the fuel isn't spraying everywhere. And yeah, so that's all mounted. There's a shield on the bottom. It's all ready to go. Just have to wire everything, and then we should be good to go. So the last update for today is we made some modifications to the rear axle. You'll notice that this has a slight bow to it. When we welded it, the plates on the end basically warped just a tiny bit in and gave it a little bit of negative camber. We plan to race this thing in a straight line, so we kind of need it to be straight up. So we basically took a piece of flat stock and we put a gentle curve into it and then jacked up on the axle in a bunch of places and just put little stitch welds. I know they're not symmetric, relax. So that was that. And then the other thing under here is we have our flex fuel sensor installed right here. So this is just a Chevy Silverado flex fuel sensor, came right out of a junkyard. So we do plan to run ethanol in this car, and we would rather not buy the expensive E85 and just vary the content. Computer will take care of the rest, and yeah, just saves money, because when you buy the perfectly blended E85, it gets expensive. So not that you can't mix your own, but so that is the last for the updates under here. I think we're up to date.
So what we're trying to do here is start building the panels here to fill in under the car to get the air to come out from under the car without catching the back bumper and making like a parachute back here. This first piece is going to get attached to the bumper, and then all the other pieces are going to get attached to the car so that as the air comes out, it just flows out from under the car.
So today, what we're going to work on is we are going to make a modification to the transmission accumulator. We basically, there's a spring in there. We got to take the spring out so that the 2-3 shift activates as fast as possible. So I'm going to be working on that, and my dad is going to be working on a rear aero air deflector in the back, basically to make it so the back bumper is not a parachute. Just redirects the air around the bumper instead of into the bumper. So let's get to work. It's being a pain. Ouch.
It'll have a big flood of liquid when you pop it out.
Yeah, we already got past that point.
Oh, alright.
I'm just trying to get the
Look,
piston push.
I can either be informative or pick on you. What do you want?
You want to try and grab the cover thing out?
Hold on.
I hold the piston back.
Hold on. There we go. It's stuck on the steering. Just keep it to the side there. Let me assess things. Okay, need to go tip forward. How's that? Okay. Come on. Alright, I got the cover. You need the piston out?
Alright. You want to just take the springs off, or?
Alright, that's one. What's he do?
I don't know, it's dampening, or? I don't
No,
know.
what does he do?
Oh, he just puts the spring on the other side, but we were talking about just taking it off. Let's just take it off.
Okay, there's two springs. This one's retained somehow, and I can't see how. Ah, got it.
So we're just making it so it doesn't have any resistance. Okay.
Oh
So
my
it rides on this surface here.
Right, that's your piston seal.
Okay. So.
Okay, so now the question becomes, nothing's going to push back on it.
I think this needs to stay in here because it looks like it's...
You want to get a hold of Brandon real quick? Take a picture real quick. Because this, we can disassemble if I push on this. We can pull the C-clip out. Okay, so what I want to know is if he's doing this versus this.
He said take the spring and put it on the other side. That's what he said. So that would make me think it goes like that, but...
Ooh, that just ripped the... You can't do it that way. You gotta make sure that the lead lit's in. There you go.
Let's just leave this one in there.
Okay.
And let's just put it back together like this. So I think... Yeah, let's just do that.
Let it rip, tater chip.
Yeah, let me see if I can do some Googling. We're out of paper towels. So this is the 2-3 shift accumulator. Basically, fluid comes in through, I assume, this little hole here. And then it comes through the center here, and it fills up this volume here. And this piston, or this spring here, it basically fights the pressure and makes the 2-3 shift more soft, because Grandpa doesn't want to feel his car shift, Mr. Cadillac. And so we're taking the spring, getting rid of it, and we're going to make that thing shift as firmly as possible. Hopefully apply more power more quickly in third gear. So, thank you.
Man, up days, boy, you made a mess.
Yeah. I thought I could get the piston back in quick, and then, well, that was wasted time.
I thought you used to fill your diapers pretty good. You just totally crushed this floor.
I've done worse. This is how it came out.
Oh, no, that's not how I pulled it out. There you go. Keep coming out. Let me have the... There you go. Okay, make sure that lip seal doesn't,
Okay, nice and easy.
Pull the piston back out. And stick it into the...
Still leaking.
What's that?
Still leaking.
Yeah, it's going to for...
Till I get it sealed back up.
Yep. And is there a gasket or anything?
Nope, it's just an O-ring.
Okay. You gotta pull the piston
I can't pull it out.
Why not?
Doesn't want to come out, and I just got it. So.
There you go.
If you're working on a transmission and you didn't get transmission fluid in your armpit, you're not doing it right. Ew. Almost got it. I don't know if I have the right size wrench, so that makes it extra difficult. It feels too big. Let's
size was that? Pro tip, assemble things loose, then tighten. Because if you tighten one, then the other bolts might not line up, and then you'll be cursing yourself. Alright guys, we got a lot of work done today. I think it's time to call this video a wrap. I think we're going to try and get the car started in the next episode. If you liked the new filming, please leave nice comments down below for my brother. And if you like the content you're seeing, please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.